Oh, the other, I don't know what that was. The other piece of it, and I'm going to do this in a very succinct way. It does not, I'm not doing it to be disrespectful, but I'm just giving you very much a Cole's notes of what's happening. In my piece, I said, as we walk the two-road wampum together, and understanding the two-road wampum at a basic level will perhaps help you understand why we're doing this as well. So the two-road wampum is really an agreement between two nations. And if you were to look at it, it's a belt, it has a white background, and then you've got two blue horizontal lines going side by side. And really, if you think about Blackfoot Crossing, for example, you might have several nations coming together to use the crossing, and they would use this protocol when they met a new nation. And the two-road wampum, which is basically saying, okay, you're here, we're here, I recognize you, and I'm not going to bother you. Please don't bother us. We'll just kind of walk the road together, but we're going to keep on our own path. And even getting to know who you were was probably, as much as anything, a determination of friend or foe. So hopefully everybody got along, and away we go. But the other piece of this is, you don't just want it to be something that you tick off on a box. So in other words, I do it only because everybody wants to do it. What we're really trying to say is, we recognize the Indigenous people who are still here, who are very active and growing. It is a reflection of our use of the land in relationship to their stewardship of the land historically. It came out of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. But most importantly, I think it's us showing that we are working together with the Indigenous people to try and allay some of the things that have happened in the past. So it should be very much a dynamic thing. And as I've just shown you, you can do it at the club level. But if you're really interested in the work, you also can do it very much on a personal level. So go back to where you were born and your path that you're taking forward on it. And there's lots of places that you can do it. It should be grounded in honesty, positivity, and respect. So in these situations, it should be a very personal thing. It's something that you personally are endeavoring to do as you move forward. The research, there's all kinds of opportunities for you to do the research on the web. So Google is your friend here, but you can definitely go and take a look at who's involved, where they came from, what it is. If I am I'll go back. In a land acknowledgement, you generally start with the group that you're involved with. So if I were on the Tsuut'ina Nation, I would start my land acknowledgement with the Tsuut'ina, and then bring in the Blackfoot and the good Stony folks afterwards. The other piece of the pie is acknowledging what the past was in the relationship, where you are today, and how you want to move forward through it. So in mine, again, I said, as we walk the two-road wampum together. Ultimately, the ideal is that you have it memorized. So that, again, this then takes it out of the realm of I'm just ticking a box, and takes it into the realm of it actually has meaning for me. Let's move forward. So the how is to actually take time to reflect on how you and the Indigenous folks work together. Sometimes I will reflect, I have a very keen sense of the environment, and I will acknowledge that they were the custodians of the land before I arrived, and I wish to continue being a good steward of the land with them going forward. So you can build in pieces of what is important to you as it relates to the Indigenous groups and communities that you were involved with. Always important to try and get the pronunciations correct. And if you're worried about pronunciations, Google is again your friend. You can search any name, and then you'll pop into YouTube's, and YouTube's will normally have elders showing you how to make the pronunciation correct. And again, for me, it's a practice thing, and I'm still not getting it perfect, but I try and work on it whenever I can. And ultimately, you do want a piece that says, this is what I'm prepared to do going forward. So we are thankful to those who looked after the land before us, and we endeavored to do that with you. What I've now popped up is, this one is actually the land acknowledgement that was developed by Brad Sewell. And I'm going to ask you to take a moment to read it. And then I'm going to open it up to ask, how did Brad do? So what are the pieces in Brad's that you have seen that would support a land acknowledgement statement? So I'll just give you a moment with that. Okay, so hopefully you've had an opportunity to take a look at that. What did you see there? What did Brad do with his land acknowledgement?
He made it personal.
And how did he make it personal?
Well, he brought in his family, his generations, and where his homestead was.
Yes, very good. Anything else in there?
Well, he talks about what he'll do in the future. You know, it's a long journey, and you know, he's talking about being inclusive and joining as opposed to, you know, operating in parallel.
Yes, absolutely. He's got an action statement in there. Anything else in there that we talked about that you would pick up?
He's done the history of who lived there.
Yep, very much so. He's done a lot of work on that, actually.
So it's bad here in John Hitler.
Sorry.
Oh,
You know, I've spoken with Indigenous people, and one of the things they don't like being referred to as a treaty number.
I have heard that, and similarly, some folks in the Métis Nation are not fond of that as well. All I can say is, at this stage of the game, the treaties are the way we've done it through the Truth and Reconciliation. I'm going to guess my friends in BC have some different issues, because not all of those nations, I don't believe, have treaties actually.
Just the ones I've spoken to, they would prefer just to be referred to as the people they are.
Yeah. And you can
Just a
honor them
comment.
that way. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing, if that's the request you've got, you're more than welcome to honor their requests. And somebody else had a comment?
Yeah, I just thought it came across very sincere. Especially the action statement, and he used plain language, and you can tell it comes from the heart.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you know Brad, that's the kind of gentleman he is. And I'm sorry if there's stuff in the chat, when I'm in presentation mode, I can't actually hit any of the other buttons in Zoom. So if there's anything in the chat I'm missing.
I've got a comment, Jim.
Go ahead.
Steve here. Yeah, I think that's you've done an excellent presentation thus far, and I know one thing you mentioned is it should be memorized, which I agree. You shouldn't be up there reading off a piece of paper. But I think it even has more meaning if it's really spoken from the heart, and perhaps we can change it a little bit each time we give it to show that this is from the heart. It's not just something I read or memorized. So that's something I've kind of learned along the journey.
So Jim,
Go
there
ahead.
is one comment in the chat from Ann Dale who says it says region, not treaty.
Oh, okay.
It's
and is
Brian. It's
that-
Brian Walton here. One of the things I like about the land acknowledgement, or at least the message that the Edmonton Oilers put up before the games, is the fellow that talked about Turtle Island, but his reference to walk together. I like that one.
Mhm.
And if I was going to do this, I would work that in somehow to my message.
And it's a very good point. It is a journey. It is definitely a journey. And Steve's point is very good as well. Whenever I do them at our club, I always try and change up the last piece somehow, whichever way it goes. Your clubs can do it the way you wish. I will say that at the beginning of the meeting, I choose a different person in the club every time to do the land acknowledgement. We are not at the stage in our club where where everyone can just do it off the top of their head, so to speak, or do it that way. So I do have it typed out, and I've got it on a paper, and then I just hand it to them, and they can do with it as they wish. Was there anything else in the chat I missed?
I have a question on the previous slide, Jim.
Okay, if I can go back.
There's a word that I'm looking for some help with.
Oh, can I go back? You want this slide?
Yes. Okay, so in the middle of there, it refers to the IYARHE Dakota. So
IRA?
can you help me with IRHE? So
I
have been
believe
referring
that's
to
what it
that.
is. And again, I have to do a little bit more work with them. They're in the throes. The good Stony are in the throes of changing their identity. So I think Morley is now known as something, and I have to admit I haven't looked at it.
I believe it's mini.
No, they're in the
It's something like
process of
mini Thnaw.
renaming themselves.
So I'm in the Cochrane Club, and I'm also communications for our trail project,
Yeah,
which is taking the Trans-Canada Trail through this country.
yeah,
And just this last week or so, I've tried to get clear on First Nations that are involved as we go on to Canmore. And I was told it was the Stony Dakota Nation, which is comprised of those three groups. And the Good Stony, I learned, was previously known as the Wesley Band,
correct.
and the Chiniki and the Bearspaw, those three. But my understanding is that they form what's called the Stony Dakota. So I'm particularly curious about that word, IRHE.
So my suggestion is, if you know Brad Wellicom, ask Brad. Because there's some changes going on out that way. Because what do they, did they not change the signage on Highway 1? I haven't,
I don't know the answer to that. That's a fair question, but I do know we have Cam Stewart coming to our club on the 21st, which
Yep.
is great.
and Cam would be a great resource for that
And
as
he's
well.
talking about reconciliation.
Yeah. So you could check with that as well. But
Okay.
yeah, so I
Thanks,
haven't
Jim.
got a good,
I'll-
I would use Stony, Dakota. In mine, I use Stony, Dakota, but
And I just did it in a document, so, but I'm curious about that. And I'm gonna look that up, so.
yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
So Jim, we do have one more comment in the chat
Okay.
from Grant Jensen. It should be remembered that we are all treaty people. Most Indigenous people signed a treaty with the Canadian government. So Indigenous people and non-Indigenous people are both bound by treaty and its provisions.
And yes, I will just say yes. The only caveat I have on that, from my understanding, and this is just my understanding, is the treaty is actually with the Crown and not the government of Canada. Wow.
Doesn't look like there are any more questions.
I got a
Okay.
comment if I could.
Yeah, please.
Martin and I had a situation where a club member wrote us a letter and said he felt it was a political statement to use the land acknowledgement in Rotary, and we're not a political organization, or not to bring politics in. So we did some research on that, and we just felt very strongly it is not a political statement. It's giving people that we associate with, that we're intertwined with, acknowledgement for using their, being part of their land and trying to make that reconciliation. So it may come up in your club, but just try to clarify it's not really a political statement.
And that's a very fair point. Another comment in that vein that I've got is people have sort of pushed back, saying I hear it many times. I've heard it, 100 times. And so I guess there are two ways to look at that. I know some clubs will switch it up and they won't do a land acknowledgement, but they might, for example, do an Indigenous moment where they talk about something out of the Truth and Reconciliation Committee. On the resources I have, they'll talk about 21 things you may not know about the Indian Act. So they'll bring something different in. My other thought on this is, as Rotarians, our club, at the end of every meeting, we recite the 4-way test. And it has very special meaning to us, not only as Rotarians in our Rotary Club, but also in the way we move through the world and how we interact in our business lives and in our personal lives. And I would hope as Rotarians that we never get tired of saying that. And the land acknowledgements, to a degree, I would put in the same category. For us as Rotarians, the 4-way test is very, very important. And for the Indigenous people, the land acknowledgements are very, very important. So my view on it is it should be almost of equal standing. And just from the perspective that we know how much we value the 4-way test, and they definitely value the land acknowledgements.
So thank you very much for your insightful comments today, Jim.
Thank you. It was my joy.
Thank you. And if you can unshare your screen, that would be great, because we are now going to move over to Rob Wolfson.
How do I
Right.
unshare my screen? Let's do that. Let's get out. Can I get out? Yay. That should give me access, right?
You still see
There
your
we go.
screen. Oh, there we go.
There we
Perfect.
go.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
Rob.
Great start. So I know, Kurt, you should be sharing your screen. There we go.
Indeed, I
Perfect.
just
Thank
did.
you. So so thanks everyone. So my job today is just to tell you about the Rotary Learning Center. Some of you, hopefully, most of you have already used the Rotary Learning Center, but it's just an amazing resource on the RA International website, just to help in our education and training, not only for you as district leaders and club leaders, but also for everyone in your club. So it's a great resource for you to tell other members on your board in your committees as well. So next slide, please, Kurt. One back, there we go. So just a quick agenda. What is the Learning Center, where to find it, how to use it, who should use it, why am I telling you about it? And obviously teach a Rotarian to fish, as they say. Next slide. So what is it? It's really an online wealth of knowledge and information. It's a one-stop learning and development resource that you can use from the comfort of your own home and computer at your own time and convenience. It's easily accessible for all members, again, not just for district leaders, club leaders, but for all members. It's a great resource for new members as well. I think at some point throughout a Rotarian's tenure, there's something on there for everyone. So whether you're new, veteran, you could be in your club for a long time, just maybe switching knowledge in a different avenue of service. It's something that you can go to just to see if there's more learning that you can do, again, at the comfort and convenience of your own home and time schedule. Next slide. So sometimes, when you're on the internet, it can be a bit of a where's Waldo. Always that first time when you're navigating around, there definitely are a couple clicks to get to it initially, but once you found it the first time, you know where to look every time to find Waldo. So it really is not that easy after you've been in it the first time. And it's really not even hard the first time, but as mentioned, there are a couple clicks, but it's very intuitive. And once you access my Rotary on the RI website, it's easy to find going forward. Next slide. So you do need to start. It's not through Club Runner. It is on the RI website, so which is, of course, we all know it, www.rotary.org. So, of course, the main page. This is a bit of an older picture, but we're all familiar with the main page of Rotary International. Next slide. You do have to have a My Rotary account. So once there's a home icon, which you click My Rotary, and it's easy to access. There's a little home icon, which is My Rotary. You click it, type in your email address, your password. If you don't have a My Rotary account, if you have not used it previously, you do need to create a My Rotary account, and you can see that box will open. There's a little drop down where it says create account. You simply just need to put in your email address. A little pro tip is to use the same email address which you have signed up with for your other Rotary activities. If you're like me, you have a couple different email addresses that you use, so definitely use the one that RI already has on file for you, because then it's easier to track all of the information. Create a password. Obviously, write your password down, but if you do forget your password at some point, you can just click forget password, and it's easy to reset. So again, this is not the same as your Club Runners. You do not access it through Club Runner like you do your other Rotary resources, because that's all more individual and district. This is through the RI site, so you do need to set up your own My Rotary login, and most of us have done that. About 2/3 of Rotarians do have a My Rotary account, so there definitely is a third that do not. But for the most part, I'm assuming as club leaders, you've probably have already created a My Rotary and have accessed it before. Next slide, Kurt. So it is a learning and reference tool. So this is the home page on My Rotary. Just a quick aside, there are many different and valuable resources on My Rotary once you're in there. One to highlight is the Brand Center, especially as if you're ever creating presentations or PowerPoints or need Zoom backgrounds or logos, definitely click into the Brand Center once you're on My Rotary, because there's lots of great resources there for templates and branding, photos, that type of stuff, videos. But once you're in this specifically, it is a learning and resource tool. So naturally and intuitively click learning and reference. and then you're going to see that drop down, which opens up on the left-hand side. And you can see the second one from the bottom is the Learning Center. So again, really easy, Learning and Reference Learning Center. Next slide. So how to use it. Next slide, Kurt. So here's what the homepage will look like. So as you can see, there's all of the various courses and modules are grouped into learning topics, so to speak. So there's courses about Rotary, the club leadership, which is where I'm going to direct you, district leadership. There's general courses. There's many courses about membership specifically. Professional development is a lot of the courses that have been created with our recent collaboration with Toastmasters. So lots of public speaking, that type of stuff in the professional development courses. Obviously, just public image courses about Rotary, how to present Rotary within the community. Service is a lot of the youth-oriented courses for your youth committees are in there. The foundation courses as well for club financial and information about the Rotary Foundation. So there's a couple different ways to access courses. Number one is just to click these kind of general buckets, which will take you in, and then find all the different courses. There's lots of courses that fall into multiple categories, not just one individually. Or I don't have a slide for it, but you can see in the very top left-hand corner, there's the three little horizontal lines. That's another little drop-down menu where it's going to open up a dashboard, and you can click in there. If being that it's an online tool, if you're in the middle of a course and you can't finish it and you just exit out of it, it's going to save your history. You can pick up where you left off. So any courses that you're in the middle of, you can go into your dashboard and see kind of where you're at with your various learning modules. There's a search button in the top right, and there you see the little blue hourglass, the blue magnifying glass. You can click there and you can actually just go search in, foundation or membership or president, whatever you want it, secretary, whatever you want to put in there, and you can search courses related to that topic. So there's a few different ways that you can search on here for sure once you get into it. One recommendation, and this is in the, I believe it's in the about, or it's probably in the general category, and it's in most of the learning plan structures, which I'm going to show you. There is a how to navigate the Learning Center module, which is a quick 10-minute module, which kind of goes through all the different ways to navigate through the resource. Next slide. So again, recommended starting place, getting started with the Learning Center. It's a quick, it says 15 minutes, but it probably doesn't even take that long. It's probably 10 minutes, again, just how to navigate through, how to use the resource. I always recommend too, as a great kind of just easy to navigate module. It's called Rotary Basics. I think it's great for all members. Again, whether you're a new, a specialist, or especially fantastic for new members, but even members that have been a member for a while, but just need a kind of a quick refresher on all the different things that happen in the background at the international level, things like Polio Plus, the foundation, obviously the different areas of service. It's a great tool. It's only 15 minutes. It's also a great resource if you're stuck for a club speaker or something to present to your club at a meeting, a speaker doesn't show up, or it's a great kind of go-to for a club meeting as well. There's just a little bit of reading, a few videos just about kind of why we're Rotarians, why we do what we do. So I always recommend people that are new to the Learning Center to take that module as well, because it's really quick and it's very informative. Next slide, Kurt. So as I've already mentioned this a few times, but again, I know you're up and coming leaders in your club, but it's really not just for not for your club leaders. Really, there's something for everyone. Really great for new members as part of an orientation package. Go on there again, Rotary Basics, avenues of service, the leadership, again, whether you're president-elect, secretary-elect, if you're just on the board, maybe you're on a new committee that you haven't worked on before, there's great resources. You may know a lot, or I'm sure everyone knows a lot about the various avenues of service that you can do within your clubs, but it's, hey, why not take the course and see if there's a new idea in there? Why reinvent the Rotary wheel, so to speak, when RA is already doing a lot of work to help us out and maximize the potential that we have in the various roles where we're doing them within a club. There's always something for all members at all times during their tenure. Next slide. So again, new member, basics, areas of focus. There's other great modules. There's getting started with diversity, equity, inclusion, which I know Jim was just talking about a little bit. So there's tons of great modules in there for new members. So I would definitely maybe have one of the members of your membership committee navigate in, see the different courses, and it's a great way to just You have a new member coming in, give them a little welcome package. And oh, by the way, create your My Rotary account, pop on, here's some courses, you know, kind of just 15, 20-minute courses that you can do just to plug away. And it's a great way to educate your new members on to the different things that happen within Rotary. Probably do a better job than you can do yourself because the tools are already there. Next slide. But more specifically for you, next slide, they've created what's called learning plan structures. I always highlight membership because, again, we all need to focus on membership in our club. So again, pass this down to your membership chairs, committee chairs. They've created what's called a learning plan structure where it's not just one individual course. As you can see in the picture on the left-hand side, there's a little tile and you can see there's multiple tiles there and it says right above it 8 courses. So it's not just one course, it's actually a grouping of courses. Again, it's 2 hours and 45 minutes. That seems a bit daunting. Again, you can plug away at your own time, and that's the collection of time for all of the courses in the learning plan structure. It's not just the one course, but again, you can plug away at it, take 15, 20 minutes one day on a cold, rainy day, snowing, whatever, you know, when you have a few minutes, plug away, pause it, exit out of it. And when you join it the next time, it's going to pick you up where you left off. So again, this is membership. Again, learn more about your responsibilities and developing your club's strategic membership plan to attract and engage members. And perfect, right? We all need to do that. Here's the different level. Here's the different courses that fall under that learning plan structure. So engaging new members, best practices, kickstarting your membership orientation, building a diverse club. You know, so lots of great ideas. Next slide. Okay, so more specifically, obviously, to this group is the leadership plans. So whether you're president, secretary, treasurer, in the different committees, there's learning plan structures for all the different leadership roles within your club. Next slide. Club president. I know I sent out a couple notes in advance of these pets and sets training sessions, just saying, you know, pop on when you have time, go through the club president learning plan structure. I'm sure a lot of you have already started doing it, but if you haven't, again, a great resource to do. I know you have a lot to do in the next couple months. I've been there myself. I'm past president, so I know there's a lot that you need to prepare for as you're getting ready for your year starting on July the 1st. But please, if you haven't done so already, highly recommend go on. And it's 11 courses. It's just under 5 hours. I'm sure you can get it done quicker. But again, that's the accumulation of time of all of the courses. But just plug away at it. And a great resource for, again, it's not going to teach you everything that you need to know, but again, it's a great resource to help arm you with more information and tools to make sure that you can have the best year possible for your club. And this might be hard to see this slide, but just all the different courses that are involved in that club president. And I do know that even this, I screenshotted it about a year ago, but you know, so there may even be, I know they make updates and behind the scenes on the different courses, but again, just great courses that you can do. Always starts with getting started with the Learning Center. So you may have already done that. You know, Club President Basics, there's membership stuff in there. There's leading, there's, you know, dealing with conflict. There's a whole bunch of different courses in there. So you can plug away at your own time and it's just there to help you. Next slide. As much as there's the learning plan structures, which groups multiple like courses for a specific position or task, and you can just pop on and do individual courses as well too. So really, we do find that the average number of courses per person that uses the Learning Center is approximately 10. So it just shows you that once a member knows that the resource is there, they pop on and use it. Doesn't mean it's right away, but at some point, you know, when they need to enhance their knowledge on a certain topic, oh yeah, the Learning Center is there. Let me pop on and see what RA has to say about this specific topic. So you don't need to go on and tackle a 5-hour, 11-course learning plan structure. You can just find a specific course, you know, related to one specific topic and just see if there's any new knowledge about that specific topic. So why am I here? So again, we think it's the next slide here. We think it's so important because it is one of RI's best kept secrets. The first starting place, as I mentioned, is having that My Rotary account. You need to have a My Rotary account in order to find the Learning Center. Only about 63, on average, about 63% of members within the district have a My Rotary account. You can see by the chart on the left. Again, this is from the start of the Rotary year, so it is admittedly about 9 months old, but still the numbers won't have changed that much. blue bar is the percentage of members within the various clubs in the district that do have a My Rotary account, and the orange is not. I'm sure for those from the Vancouver district, I'm sure it's very similar percentages as well too. It's kind of common across the various districts. The next slide. So again, this is 5360 numbers, but back in 2019, when we started paying more attention to the Learning Center, my role as the Learning Center liaison was to go out to clubs, educate clubs. We were at about 53% members that had a My Rotary account. Again, the start of this Rotary year, we've increased up to about 63%. So it's little by little, drip by drip, but we are getting there with more members with a My Rotary account. Next slide. But again, having the My Rotary account is only the first step. The next step is actually going in and finding the Learning Center and clicking on and starting a course. And as you can see by the stats, there's only about, of the members that have a My Rotary account, which is about 22% of the members, 22% of the members with a My Rotary account have used the Learning Center. So even those with a My Rotary have not gone on and found it, only about a quarter of the members. And because not all of the members, sorry, go back one slide, Kurt. But because not all of the members have a My Rotary account, it's actually only about 14% total members within District 5360 that have used the Learning Center. So we have a lot of ways to go. We know we're never going to get to 100%, but it is an amazing resource. But again, these stats are as of the beginning of the Rotary year, but 215 unique users of the 1,500 members within the Rotary have used the Learning Center. But as you can see, the courses have really grown, 2,200 courses. So people that use the resource go back to it as one of their resources going forward. So my ask of you, again, log on to My Rotary if you haven't done so already. Use the Learning Center if you haven't done so already, and then do that Rotary Basics module is a great starting point. The next slide, Kurt. I always find lead by example, right? If you, and I can tell you, all of our district leaders go on and do all of the courses as they're leading into their various committees, because I see the reports. I know that all of our district leaders use the tool given to them by RI. So try yourself first, familiarize yourself with the tool. Ask your club leaders in your various committees to do the same. That way they can then in turn tell their committee members, build it into your club's learning best practices. Start with your new members, your leaders. If you ever have any questions, please, as the head of learning and development, please forward it on to me. I'm happy to speak to a club individually, whether on Zoom or in person, about the Learning Center. And just thank you for your time. And yeah, just use it. Familiarize yourself with it, and it's there as a resource just to help you out, again, at your time and convenience. So that's it. Kurt, next slide. Here's my contact information, and whether it's via email or text or cell phone, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And I think I have about a quick minute. So
Rob, well, first of all, thank you so much for keeping us informed about the Learning Center. I do have one comment to add, and that's, or emphasize, is the importance of using the same email address. Because if the system knows you're a Rotarian rather than a guest, you have quite a bit different access to information within My Rotary. Again, whether you're a guest or a Rotarian, and especially as a president, you have more access even than a regular Rotary member, so to speak. So very important to use the same email that is your preferred email in Club Runner.
yeah, absolutely. Great point, Kurt. So thanks, everyone. I think appreciate you listening. And as mentioned, if you need help on any of the topics, you can reach out to Jim on the land acknowledgement, and the rest of the Indigenous Relations Committee, or myself for the Learning Center. And thanks for taking time in the breakout today. And we'll go back to the main room now for the wrap up. So I'm gonna leave Kurt. I'll go back to the main room.
Okay. Yes, if everybody can leave the room, that would be great. Go back to the main room. Should be at the bottom right of your screen, a leave room button.